Any philosophy that accepts death must itself be considered dead, its questions meaningless, its consolations worn out. Alan Harrington, The Immortalist. Hello everyone and welcome to the first episode of HealthGevity podcast. In this podcast, I will talk to the most famous scientists and entrepreneurs in the field of longevity, and we will discuss the latest breakthroughs and advancement in this field, and see that how these technologies can slow down, stop, and even reverse aging. Today, in the first episode of this podcast, I have the honor to talk to Dr. Jose Luis Cordeiro, the Director of Millennium Project, Director of Humanity Plus, and author of the bestseller book, The Death of Death. Mr. Cordeiro studied at Massachusetts Institute of Technology in Cambridge, where he received his Bachelor of Science and Master of Science degrees in Mechanical Engineering. He was one of the original teaching fellows and advisors at Singularity University. Mr. Cordeiro is founder and president of World Future Society Venezuela, founder of Venezuelan Transhumanist Association, and many more international institutes. And with all these, we have the privilege to have Mr. Cordeiro as the head of advisory board in HealthGevity Center, the largest longevity center in the Middle East. We open this center soon in Kurdistan, the city of Erbil, one of the oldest city in the world with 8,000 years of history. So welcome, Dr. Jose Luis Cordeiro. Thank you so much for your precious time. Thank you for being with us in HealthGevity podcast.
It is my pleasure to be with you and to talk about longevity and about the future.
Thank you so much. So first of all, actually, I want to start about the immortality, about your book. We have a lot actually today to talk about. So for thousands of years, human beings actually have been seeking to become immortal. This is a topic that I want to start with because it's important for me, myself personally, and I know how much it is important for you. So I want to know that what are some philosophical backgrounds and roots that human being from the beginning is seeking, let's say, this kind of, I don't know, really, it's a quest, what are first the philosophical roots and why human in all cultures, in all countries around the world, they have this, even though some people today see it very strange, actually, thing and quest, but we have had that from the beginning with human. Can you please start with that?
Yes, that is a great point because it takes us to the beginning of humanity itself. And all human cultures all over the planet have wanted immortality. Even in pre-recorded time, in prehistory, we know for the way that the people were buried, that the goal was to reanimate in the future. Then all religions basically talk about immortality later in the future. But also the first book in human history, written in Mesopotamia, maybe somewhere in Iraq, the Epic of Gilgamesh was about immortality. Gilgamesh was a Mesopotamian king who wanted immortality for his friend, for him, and for everybody. Almost 5,000 years ago, that is incredible. Also in Egypt, the Book of the Dead is also about immortality. And the first Chinese emperor, Qin Shi Huang, who built the terracotta army, he also looked for immortality. He wanted to be immortal. That is why he built this terracotta army. The Spanish, when they discovered America, they were looking for the fountain of eternal youth. So right. All cultures, Egypt, Mesopotamia, China, Spain, Italy, everywhere, people were looking for immortality. But we did not have the technology at the time. So we looked for consolation through religion, because religion also offered a way to become immortal.
Exactly, that's true. Well, in most of your talks, actually, I see that you're talking about the year 2045, and you say that by then, actually, dying or death will be something optional. So I want to know that what is it based on, and what are some technology advancement and breakthroughs that will help us to that point, so that definitely, first of all, slow down, stop, and then reverse aging, and then the death will become something obsolete. So I want to know that from your point of view, what are those technologies that can help us to reach that point?
Well, my friend Ray Kurzweil, also from my alma mater, from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, and Ray Kurzweil is a fantastic engineer, visionary, futurist. He is director of engineering at Google, and also he was the founder of Singularity University with some other people almost 15 years ago now. He talks about two very important dates based on his extrapolation on accelerating technologies that keep on moving faster and faster and faster. He talks mostly about two very important dates, 2029 and 2045. By the year 2029, we expect to reach longevity escape velocity. That means that if we survive to the year 2030, in that year, between 2029 and 2030, we will gain one extra year of life because life expectancy keeps on increasing and we live longer and longer, thanks also to advances in medicine, biology, and other areas. So by 2030, if we make it, we will almost become immortal, or we will live long enough to live forever if we make it to 2030. However, we will still age. We will continue aging, but life expectancy will continue increasing until the year 2045. By 2045, according to Ray Kurzweil, we will be able to rejuvenate. We will have technologies that will help to reverse aging for everybody, anywhere, anytime. So reverse aging is the goal, so that we live indefinitely for as long as we want in a healthy, youthful condition. No one wants to be immortally old, but if we can be immortally young, that should be possible by the year 2045, according to the exponential changes in biology and what we expect to see according to Ray Kurzweil.
Right, amazing. That's great. So let's see, first of all, before actually reaching that point, I think first we have to think about slowing down aging, right? Stop it, reverse it, then actually we'll reach that point. But the thing is, you've noticed that most of even the scientists still have not recognized aging as a disease, right? Still they see it as something natural. They say, okay, this is in the nature. Death is a part of life, and it's important, whether it's from evolutionary point of view, for the lack of resources and a lot of reasons they say. But I want to know your idea and point of view that, do you really think that death is something necessary? Is it a part of real life? And why we should change our mindset about it, that we as human, as a species, we really have the right to live as much as we want and as healthy as you want.
Wow, you have many questions in there. Right. So let me ask you, begin answering, that it might be natural, but also cancer is natural and we want to cure cancer. Alzheimer's is natural and we want to cure Alzheimer's. Heart attacks are natural and we want to cure heart attacks. So aging might be natural, but we also want to cure aging, like we want to cure cancer and heart attacks and so on and so forth. So actually all these diseases are related. And the main driver, the major risk factor is age. The older you are, the higher the probability of having cancer, heart attacks, Alzheimer's, etc., etc. So the main enemy is aging. Aging is like the mother of all other chronic diseases. That is why we need to cure aging, because if we stop our biology at age 20 or 25, we will probably not get a cancer that kills us, or Alzheimer's, or Parkinson's, or heart attack. So aging is the major problem. It might be
Yeah.
natural. We don't care, like we don't care if cancer is natural. We want to cure it. But
Correct.
also in life, there are some organisms that are biologically immortal, like some hydras and jellyfish. They are biologically immortal. This doesn't
Exactly.
mean that they don't die. It means that they don't age, that they don't grow old and die. And
Right.
so, besides these small organisms, we also have cells that do not age, that stop aging. The best ones, which are the germ cells that you and I and every multicellular organism has, germ cells do not age
Right.
biologically, and they are called immortal cells. So you have immortal cells, I have immortal cells, the best cells, which are the germ cells for reproduction. We also have bad cells that discover immortality, like cancer. Cancer cells are mutant cells that stop aging. That is why we need to kill cancer, because cancer cells do not age and they grow and they reproduce and they go throughout the body. So cancer cells discover immortality. The proof that immortality is possible is that it already exists in nature. The
Right.
best cells, the germ cells, are biologically immortal, and some bad cells also stop aging, cancer cells. So if cancer cells discover immortality, we will too, because cancer cells did not go to university, but they
Right.
discovered immortality. So now that we have sequenced the human genome and we are finding the mutations that create cancer, we will cure cancer in the next 10 years. I am totally convinced. Science is advancing very quickly. Immortality already exists in nature, and we are just trying to understand how it works so that we can replicate it for all of us.
Right, amazing. So we can say that naturally or potentially we are kind of immortal because we have the potential of being that. Only it's because of the process of aging that is killing us. And as you know, 2/3 of all death daily that happens, like 150,000 people daily, 2/3 of it is because of the aging related diseases. And one interesting thing actually about considering aging as a disease, we have a genetic disease called progeria, that it's a genetic disease by mutation, which children actually they get all in the age of like 5 to 10, and we call it a disease, right? Which is the diseases of fast aging. But when it comes to the human life, which our aging happens in 60 or 70 or 80 years, then a lot of people say, no, this is natural and we should not even cure it. So this is a little bit strange. I totally agree with you that we have to try to support, all those people who, the scientists, the institution, and you know that we have started our HealthGevity Center to help people to change their mindset. There should be a paradigm shift about it that societies should know. So my next question will be this: what are the consequences and implications of a society that thinks that they have to stop aging and they have to even reverse it and live younger? What are the economical, political consequences if a society actually is not involved in a lot of expenses about the aging related diseases?
Well, first of all, as you explained, we have in our minds, in our chips, that we had to die.
Right.
Why? Because until now, everyone died. And so
True.
we actually developed philosophies and thinking to explain and to justify death, because death could not be avoided until now. But now we have to change the chip, because now we are very close to stop aging and to reverse aging. So aging will not longer be forced upon us if we don't want it. We are very close to curing aging. So we have to change our mindset for that. Also, because the implications are incredible, incredibly positive. Only positive things will happen. Imagine if we cure not only cancer, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, heart attacks, all the chronic diseases, and we stay healthy and young. There have been so many now economic studies about the implications, the financial implications of staying young, and they are incredibly positive. For one thing, we eliminate all the medical costs at the end of life, which are huge. because
Right.
we spend 80% of the medical expenditures at the end of life, and then we still die. Imagine if we could cure aging instead of dying. So we would say that 80% of the medical expenditures of a country, which are huge, and also at the
Right.
personal level. So there is going to be an incredible fiscal super avid, a lot of money being produced by not aging. Also, we will eliminate things like pensions. Why? Because we are going to be healthy, young, and productive. And also, another very important thing, we are moving in a world of superabundance. We are producing more and more with less and less. So actually, we will become much wealthier, and we will actually not need pensions as we have them today. Also, pensions only began about a century and a half ago in Germany. There were no pensions before, but that is also sadly because people died young. Now we will stay young, and we will also not need pensions. We will be productive, but also we will live in a world of much more wealth, much more abundance than today, and there will be resources for everybody.
Right, amazing. You talked about the mindset and shifting and changing these chips in our mind. And as you said, yes, philosophies, literature, and all the fields are talking about this, that one day we have to die, and they have accepted as an important part of the life. But Alan Harrington, as you know, in the book Immortalist, it says that death is an imposition on human being and is no longer acceptable. And as you remember in Dubai conference, I asked you the same question, that how we can actually change this mindset, especially the young generation. We have to tell them that this world is totally different from the world that we and our parents lived. And so they have to start changing their mind about it. And at least, the consequences of this will be they will take care of themselves. They will have a healthier lifestyle. They will use the new technologies that are already out there. So as Aubrey de Grey, mentioned it many times, that people who can live more than 1,000 years already they have been born, and this is really important. Now let's move to another question, which is really important for me. And actually, next month we are going to have a business seminar for investors, for people who are in the business world. And we want to tell them that the next big business in the world will be longevity industry. So I really want to know your idea. And I remember sometimes, I think in your conferences, you talked that many years ago, we had the energy sector, then we had the IT, right? And in the next 10 to 20 years, it will be longevity. Please talk more about this.
Yes, actually, when I graduated from MIT in Massachusetts, I began working in the petroleum industry, in the energy industry, which was the biggest in the planet. Basically, all the top companies in the world were energy companies: Exxon, Shell, BP, Mobil, Texaco, etc., etc., etc. Those were the biggest companies when I graduated. In fact, until about the year 2000, the biggest companies in the world were energy companies. Then there was a big change at the turn of the century, the turn of the millennium, and the technology companies were coming up. And right now, the biggest companies in the world, they are all technology companies: Apple, Google, Facebook, Amazon, also in China, Baidu, all these big companies, all technology related. But in the next 20 years, the biggest companies in the planet will be longevity